Well, good afternoon, everybody. I didn't know if I have a signal from Dean that we're ready. Okay, we're ready. I'm here to tell you today a few kind of side stories from the most recent clinic that I went to in El Salvador. I was there for 2 weeks in the last week of January, the first full week of February. And we go, for those of you who don't know, we go and work on people's eyes. But we had to deal with some changes because of COVID restrictions in El Salvador, the impact of some of those restrictions on the timeline of things and that. So, like I said, these are just some stories. One of the big things that we did a little bit differently, is we weren't able to do medical procedures directly. We were able to see 1,773 patients. That's way down from what we normally do. Normally, we see between 500 and 600 patients a day. In order to come into the country to have our clinic, we had to keep that to 350. And don't do the math too cleanly up there because it doesn't quite work out. We did see a few more than 350, but the thinking was from the Salvadoran Department of Health that we would be able to have social distancing. Well, we didn't. Everybody was just so glad to be there, and it was a little bit crowded, but the pace was easier, and things went, I thought, much more smoothly. We had 1,700 people receive orders from the optometrist in the form of reading glasses, about 1,100 pairs of reading glasses, 635 prescriptions. And the glasses, I'll talk about those more in depth in April when I'll do a more in-depth program, but the glasses were the main thing that we were able to do. Because of COVID-related restrictions, we weren't able to have our surgeons do surgeries. What they wanted us to do was to take people from a town like Perkin, which is where we were, up in the mountains, and send them to the closest hospital that was suitable for surgeries, which would have been in a city called San Francisco Gotera, which for many of the people that we were working with was about an hour and a half away. And the underserved population that we work with, we just generally know that they were not going to go to the city for a surgery. That's one of the reasons we have our surgery centers right there where they're at. We can say, you need a cataract surgery, tomorrow morning's when you get it. And they respond well to that. We were able to have our ophthalmologist visit with 274 people, and we worked with a team of ophthalmologists in San Francisco Gotera and San Miguel and San Salvador to make referrals to them to see eye problems like cataracts and pterygiums and that sort of thing. But we at our clinic this year weren't able to do anything about that. We were able to, however, provide 67 prosthetic eyes, which is really a nice thing. Everybody received sunglasses, so that was a nice thing also. The program that I'm presenting, though, is to kind of be a little bit behind the scenes. This is me, in case you remember those unfortunate days when I had my beard. This man is Omar, and this is Omar's son, Nelson. In 2020, we were there right before the shutdown happened. I met Omar. He and his family make cheese in a town called Santa Rosa de Lima. And we built a relationship. We've been able to talk. And Nelson was a baby. He was they were still carrying him around and everything else at the time. And it was a good demonstration of the impact of the long-term relationship we have with people in El Salvador, that Santa Rosa de Lima is about 2.5 hours drive from where we were. and he drove, rented a car. He drove his parents, his wife, Nelson, and they have another baby, all the way to Peking just to see people on our team. But better than that, and a more important story, is this woman here, his name is Susan. Susan has been going to El Salvador with our team since 2007. And she's had a relationship with Nelson ever since he was a child. He was a young person, volunteered for the clinic. She got to know him, helped to support him, helped to sponsor him, worked with his parents. And he, especially by Salvadoran standards, but even by American standards, North American standards, has become very successful. But he wanted to see her more than anything. Because that relationship over the years, 15 years, has been very significant in his life. This is a young man here named Oscar, who I met back in 2014. This is me again. This is my sister Sue. She's one of our nurses. This is Oscar's wife, Jessica. And when he's one that, just like Omar and Susan, we struck up a relationship, just a kindred spirit type of thing. And he was kind of a wayward young person working at the hotel where we were, and didn't have any direction in his life or anything. And so he laughed at my broken Spanish, and I was glad of that. Well, we kept in touch over the years, and finally, like I said, he's gotten married. He's got a much better job than working in a hotel now. He just is starting this week in a factory, an ironworks down there, which is a very good job. And they wanted to come and meet us. We helped them build their house. My wife and I helped them build their house, helped them get electricity into their house. So they came to the airport to meet us, and he brought me these balloons and these little roses down there. And we left the balloons for the housekeeper in the hotel because we couldn't get him on the van where we were going. So the relationships that we have as a team of Americans going into a foreign country, and it's important to think of this. How would you feel if, for your eye care, a group of people from El Salvador came to North Manchester, set up in the Strauss Peabody Community Center? So we're going to check your eyes and give you glasses, but you're going to have to wait for 2 or 3 hours in line and move from place to place to place, and we're going to give you a free pair of glasses. We would feel a little bit uncomfortable, wouldn't you? But we've tried over the years to build a relationship, and things do happen differently down there, but the relationships really matter. This man here is 85 years old. He's the oldest member of our team now, and this may be his last trip with us. Sitting here with Sheila, she's in her 40s. She's one of our nurses that goes on the team. We always have a group of kids playing basketball, and some younger members of our team. I'm not in that category right now. One of the younger members of the team playing basketball just in the town square. And this boy here is wearing a shirt that says Indiana. So that was a pretty fun thing. And it looks like the Hoosiers could have used his help. This is a mural in Peking, and this is just Sheila and my sister trying to fit into the mural. It's just, like I said, just an off-time thing. The team itself also grows very close over the years. Every year we celebrate birthdays. This is Bob, one of our ophthalmologists, and this is a Tres Leches cake that they've decorated up for his birthday, and there we are just sitting around ready to have cake and coffee. So it's, like I said, the relationships of the team are part of what makes eye care work. We know what to expect from one another, just like any other team situation, but also it develops these long-term relationships in the country that help us as well, help us to get done what we need to do. One of the things that I did was the first week was called pre-screening. We go to these little mountain villages, and a lot of them were set up by the coffee companies back 100 years ago, and they put up these coffee plantations and stick a little tiny village in there and overwork people, basically. But we went for all these little villages, and this lady just thought it was hilarious this lady here that I was like a giant. And I am one of the taller people on the team, but I'm not the tallest person you ever met. But she just couldn't stop laughing at me because I think because of the beard and because of my height, she just kept. And these friends of hers were all together. They would just talk and laugh about the giant that was there. Well, I'm on my knees right here, and I'm still taller than her, so I don't know how tall she actually was. Huh? I think maybe that's what it was. These ladies here all came, they're riding in the back seat of this pickup truck, and some of the rest, not all of them, but some of the rest of the people are riding the way they commonly ride in the back of the truck there, just ready to go on. And I shouldn't say this because it's really illegal in the U.S., but this is a fun way to go. You just ride along and see everybody. But again, new relationships built up with what we do. One of the things that I noticed this time going into El Salvador from years past, is that things have changed dramatically economically. Many of you are aware that the president of El Salvador has had a severe crackdown, in my opinion, a severe crackdown on the gang activities that are down there. And I'm saying this qualified with whatever else you might say about it. The common people on the street are relieved. It's like a black cloud is lifted, that they're not paying extortion fees, they're not paying for protection, they're not paying to keep their kids safe when they go out to play and that sort of thing. And business is thriving. The place we were staying, they made bread for us every day. For lunch, we had lunch at the clinic. So she's making hamburger buns here, and this was like at 7 a.m, and we were eating them at noon. And there is also, though, I brought the Bimbo truck in because Bimbo is largely a Central American and Mexican bread company. You can get it in the U.S., but there are commercial inroads coming in, though, and it's too bad in a way because there's a lot of charm to these small, poor villages. At the same time, it's good to know that there's some prosperity there, economic prosperity, that they're able to bring in bread like that. This is more of a view of the kitchen where we stayed and all the fresh foods that we ate. Like I said, these are the coffee cakes. I'm going to be serving that when I have a program in April. A quesadilla, they call it quesadilla salvadoreña. It's delicious in my view. And then they make all this stuff. But another view, here they are all working hard in the kitchen and that. What do you see right here? A smartphone. Again, things are changing in El Salvador, and some of the things that we have for a long time, they've had smartphones down there, but they're becoming more and more and more accessible. All of our food in the place we were staying is cooked over, not all, but most of our food is cooked over a fire. They grill the meat right in here, and this is right outside the restaurant. And the food's cooked, the vegetables and all that are cooked in a big kettle up there. It's delicious. Yep, no, yes, good question. The bread isn't baked over the fire, but the meat and the vegetables are grilled over the fire. Everything that they can do over that is done there. We go to El Salvador when it's coffee picking season, and these are coffee beans laid out on a tarp to dry, and there's a little close-up of them. The area that we were in is not the commercial coffee area. That's more in western El Salvador, but everybody there has coffee plants or coffee trees. And a lot of people, you see this very common in the Perquin area. Every place we went through, the department we were in is called Morazan. And every place we went around Morazan, you saw people out picking their beans and drying them and that sort of thing. They sell these more locally. And coffee I've brought back in the past is always been more the local coffee. Morazan in Pekin is an area known for the Lenca Indians, or the Lenca tribe of people, Lenca nation. And this is a mural of them in pretty much their traditional garb. They have a big festival in Pekin every year to celebrate the Lenca. And the Lencas are a tribe of people, or a nation of people, that was severely oppressed by the Spanish, by the conquistadors. But they've come back fairly strongly. There's about 450,000 of them now in Honduras and El Salvador, about 50,000 in El Salvador and 400,000 in Honduras. They are the victims of prejudice, I will tell you that. When they come to the clinic, we hear all kinds of side remarks about it. They just don't like them. And it's unreasonable, it's uncomfortable for us, because we treat everybody who comes. And it is uncomfortable sometimes the way they treat some of the native people down there. These symbols in the restaurant are Lenca symbols, and there's not a certain meaning behind any of these, what these symbols mean. They found in traditional Lenca villages, they found in some things that the Lenca have passed down from one generation to the next, these symbols and things like this, these symbols here. And we have some idea of what the meanings are, but not really, because that was all lost in the time of, like I said, when they were nearly wiped out by the Spanish. I don't know, but I suspect probably, that would be the nature of a lot of the cultures in Central and South America. But they've had University of San Salvador people come in, all that University of Central America, people come in, and there's just not a real consistent way of deciphering them. This is Pat. You saw Jack a little bit earlier. He's the one that's 85. This is his wife. And you have to promise not to tell her that I put her picture up here. But this is the only picture I have of more of those symbols that are just, I just think they're so beautiful. But there's a hidden meaning to them. This is a great story here. There I am again. This is the mayor of a town called Torola. And Torola is one of those towns I was telling you about 125 years ago, set up by the plantation people. And it's a poor, rundown little place. And I'm not kidding. We went this way and that way, up, over hill and downhill, an hour and a half, both directions to get there. And we left early in the morning for a pre-screening. We got to the town there and thinking that we were all set up to go. And the mayor here says, we had no idea you were coming. It was like, oh, and I get car sick. So here we were, up and down and all around, going through everything. And I thought, oh, we came all this way for nothing. So what she said was, we were in a brand new building there. They built a brand new town hall, and they finished. I just got a picture on Facebook of all things. They finished this new park area right outside the town hall. She said, "Let me tell you what we're going to do." She said, "You guys set up here," and they cleared out the lobby, the main entrance of this brand new city hall or town hall. They cleared all the desks. They pushed them to the side. They made the people that were working at those desks move away. They set up for our near vision screening there. They set up for our clinic registration there. And then we went down a little hall, and there was this room, a garage about 30 feet long, about 10 feet wide, perfect for distance screening. And they said, we're going to do this. We're going to put this on we're going to put this on our Facebook page and see if anybody comes. Well, they did, and they started calling people. They put it on their Torola Town Facebook page, and don't you know, by the end of the day, about 2:30, we had seen 120 patients, and they didn't expect us at all. But they were this woman here was so excited that we would come and help serve the people of her town that she, like I said, she made all these phone calls and all that. These two little lovebirds here were our translators. They are Salvadorans who grew up in the United States. Her family is from San Salvador, but they have a second home in Perkin, and because of that second home, they send her to school in Perkin. And this boy, I forget what his connection to the U.S. is right now, but they're both Americans. They knew how to speak like we do. They also spoke very well with the people we were working with. This is the park project that I told you they were working on. This is the lobby of the place where we were. Like I said, see the desks. They gave up these 2 desks for us to use for registration, and they pushed all the rest of the desks behind there. They were just so gracious to us. And again, I thought, if they came into Wabash, a team of people came into Wabash and said, we're here for an eye clinic, I don't think the mayor of Wabash or the town manager here in North Manchester said, let's push all these desks to the side and you can set up right here. It was just an amazing situation. She understood the need of her people. We understood the need because that's why we go there. And she was willing and able to accommodate us. That's another view of the park they're building. And I wish I would have thought, I should have added, there's a picture of the park that's completed. Like I said, I went and liked their town Facebook page right away because I thought, boy, I want to see what this is like. And the pictures are finished, but I didn't think to add it to the program. Grace notices that these are treadle sewing machines. The place where we have the clinic is a community center that's shared by 2 different agencies. One is a local community agency in Perkin, and the other one is run here by Lutheran World Relief. Lutheran World Relief is the one who owns these sewing machines or lends them out. And many, many people in the countryside, the kind of people that we see in our clinic, many, many of those people don't have electricity. So, pardon me? Oh, keep the mic up. Sorry, thanks. Many of them don't have electricity. So the treadle sewing machines are just valuable down there for them. They make all kinds of things. This is my 3rd time in this town and in this community center. And they don't, they make big projects. They make quilts and they make some things like that, but they make clothes. They do clothing repair. They do all kinds of stuff for the community there. And they're teaching some of the people who, and I was going to say the women, but they are all women. It seems like that's the way it is. All women who come in, they come in and like I said, they're working all the time. During the week of our clinic, we move all their sewing machines out of this big room and they're just sitting in there like this all week long. Again, this is a thing produced or done by Lutheran World Relief. The community center also has support from other agencies. You see the European Union's involved with them, the nation of Spain. This is a United Nations agency here. This is Finland. Everybody's working together to try to bring some economic and health-related services for the people in El Salvador all over, but in this place in Perkin. And this is a little mural on the wall. It says, everybody has a right to food and education. So the kids are playing in there. And the place that we have where I work with the optometry team is normally filled with games and all that sort of thing for young kids. A lot of you know Faye McManamon. Faye's one of our drivers here at Timbercrest. Faye made these little kits right here. They're little bracelet kits, like what you've made sometime in the RAR. Some of you have gone to those classes and made a bracelet. She said, I'd like to do something, but she said, we just don't have any glasses. I said, well, why don't you do some bracelet kits? So she made me about 16 of them, and they're for girls. They're made primarily for girls about 10 to 13 years old. So these 2 girls here have the bracelet kits, and they were just really pleased as punch to get them. And this one is with her mother, and her mom said, say thank you. And she said, Mama, I am saying thank you. And I could hear her, but her mom couldn't hear her. But I thought, it's just like the United States, isn't it? Come on, you want your kids to do right. So another person that I wanted to feature just a little bit of their story is this man here is John Novak, is one of our optometrists. John works out of Avon, Ohio. Avon Lake, Ohio, I mean. And one of the things that he's very passionate about, the things that we're involved with, eye care, and his parish, he's a Catholic, his parish in the Cleveland area strongly supports the work in a town called La Libertad. And one of the reasons that their particular parish got involved with El Salvador back in the 1980s is that you remember the story, there were 4 nuns who were killed. All of those nuns, not all of them grew up in the parish, but all of them had an affiliation with his home parish. And so ever since he was a boy, he's been interested in what's going on in El Salvador and improving the role of the people there, or the way of the people there. He's working at night to keep up with his business back home, but he knows the importance and wants to help with the importance of providing this kind of service to the people there. I always try to get pictures of the plants. I like plants, and I know it's stupid, but I love the plants that are down there. And I really was hoping, this is a little field of peace lilies, like this one here. And I thought, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't Timbercrest love it if I came back and all these peace lilies were all in bloom? Well, they let me down. But that's what these are on the hillside here. This is another, just a house plant. It's a house plant. There it's being used as a hedge. More house plants that are, like I said, just they grow wild and free down there, and they're just really beautiful. The place we were staying is a place called Perkin Lenka. This is obviously the horizon and the street. There are 63 stairs you have to climb from here to get to the porch where I'm standing. And these hills over here, this is Honduras. So we were right close to Honduras when we were in Perkin. I've always heard, this is the first time, and this is my 9th time to go to El Salvador. I've always heard that there was bamboo that grew there, but I thought, I've never seen bamboo. And I always go out in the countryside the first week to these little villages. Well, sure enough, we were driving along, and my Spanish was slow enough and not good enough for the driver to tell him to stop so I could take a picture of the bamboo. But there were fields and fields of bamboo. It was really great to see. This is just a sunset. Like I said, a beautiful scene there. All these little towns are built around the same kind of pattern. There's a church on one side of the town square. There's a town square, and there's a church on one side, usually a municipal building on the other side, some commercial buildings, and it's just patterned town after town after town you go to. That's the way it is. But they're all beautiful. They all have their own sense of beauty. This is a church in Torola, the Church of San Diego. And we were able to go in there because they weren't expecting us. We had some downtime in the morning until people started coming. And this building, this is that church right there. This is the construction on the park there. This building here is the church. Now, it's important to note that the church does kind of look a little bit wealthy. But notice the roof. The roof is still the old tile, laid one on top of the other tile. And when you go in, I couldn't get a good picture that you could see that would be worth showing, but it's just lattice work with these tiles laid on top of them in there that way. This is another church tower that I thought was very, very pretty. Every morning I was able to have devotions, and because of the time change, I was up earlier than most anybody else. And this is daybreak on one of the days of the devotions that I had. And it was really an important, for me, it's as much a spiritual retreat as it is going to work. I believe that there's spiritual value in work, but there's also spiritual value in just having quiet time alone with God. And so I'd get out on the porch there every day, and I was holding my flashlight. And one morning, about the 3rd or 4th morning there, the groundskeeper came up to me and said, and I could understand him, I don't know if he understood me, he said, "Do you want the lights on?" I said, "Sure, that'd be great," in Spanish. And so he turned the lights on. So you can see the lights are on here. But every morning it's just so beautiful to see the daybreak in a nice, beautiful silver tone like that. This This is Julie. There's 2 German Shepherds and a pit bull that patrol the grounds of the place that we stay. And they provide the security. And one morning I was sitting out on a rocking chair on the porch having my devotions, this my little flashlight reading there. And I hear this rustling coming around the corner. I didn't think anything of it until I saw that it was Julie, and I don't remember the name of her German Shepherd partner, but I thought, uh-oh, I'm in trouble, because I didn't see the groundskeeper anywhere. I just sat there and I just said, good dog, all the stuff that you say. And I was sitting there and I turned my flashlight off because I don't want to startle him or anything. And I kept sitting and I kept sitting. And finally, they started licking my legs. And I thought, oh, it's like, they're licking me. And I thought they're going to bite me for sure. And they didn't. They licked my legs. They seemed to get a good smell of me, and then just went and curled up and laid down like, well, that was that. But encounters like that, with just human everyday encounters, are for me part of what makes the trip to El Salvador a wonderful thing. They are, in general, very beautiful people, very wonderful people, kind and very giving. They like to give to us as much as we like giving to them. It's just a very special time for me. Do you have any questions? I'd be happy to address any questions you have before we close up. David? Mm-hmm. And it's still going in San Rafael, which is inland about 4 hours. So, but there's still some activity around, and the people are they're very energetic. And one of the commitments that they've made, and they would say over and again in the times I've been there, we are working to make life better for our children. And that's really a goal that they have. That's exactly right. They work very hard. They put us to shame. There's a spirit of entrepreneurship. One of our drivers was driving us from San Salvador to Pekin, and we were just talking. And of course, my Spanish is pretty broken, but we were talking, and I asked him what his parents did, and he said, "Well, my dad works at a restaurant in San Salvador, and his mother sells coconuts, and that you drive all over the place down there. There's big coconut stands, hundreds of coconuts there, and she has one of those little stands, but she's working, she's doing what she can." Now, David's right, and I don't want to say anything necessarily bad about the president of El Salvador, but to say he's really tackled the gang problem very, very strongly, to say that. But there are lots of issues. I was talking to one man who said, you can say anything you want about the president as long as it's good. And there's a fear of that. There's a fear of their rights being taken away. Some of their civil rights are being violated. They can't say what they want to say all the time. We saw graffiti in a couple different towns with a big B and an X through it with the word dictator spray painted over the top. This was something that we saw in several different towns. And he has been very restrictive that way. But it's one of those situations that they were brutalized by the gangs. The gangs there's no two ways around it. The gangs were bad. The situation that they had created was bad. But I'm not sure, and I shouldn't editorialize, but I will. Two wrongs don't make a right. If the gang's heavy-handed on the government side and the people get to be afraid of the government, what has been accomplished. They're afraid of one entity or the other, and I could talk all afternoon about that, but that's a good point that way. Thank you, David. We did have a young man, and he asked me not to show his picture, so I didn't, named David. David is married, and when I first went to El Salvador in 2012, he was a high school student. He was a volunteer for the clinic. And he was one of the young people that we use all the time that says, you're in station 4, this is the direction to station 5 or 6 or wherever you're supposed to go. Between the next time we went back to Perkin, he had been able to get an exchange student passport, came to the United States, went to New York, spent a year in New York, learned some business education, some economic education, and then went back to where his parents' store was. He came back, and when he came back, then he was able to be a translator for us. His English had improved enough for the next time we were in Perkin. And then this time I was able to visit, and he has bought a property next to his parents that have this little tienda, little store that's, many of us here have walk-in closets as big as some of these stores. They're just very crowded little places. But his parents' store is right there, and they live right behind the store. But right next to it, he's been able to open a building materials shop. And we went, he said, come and see my store. And it's still called Casa Mama. It's the house of my mother, Casa Mama. But the Casa Mama hardware is right next door to this store that his parents owned. And in there, you see the corrugated steel they're using for roofs and stuff now, all kinds of rebar and bags of cement. And he's really become a successful young man, I think partly due to his influence of coming to the United States and his studies in New York, but also because of what David mentioned earlier, their drive. They just want to make things better for the next generation of people. And like I said, I wish I could show you David. I have some good pictures of him when he was a teenager, but he just is shy that way, but that's their business. So. Okay, time's up. Any last questions before we're done? All righty. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll talk to you later.